Today I'm going to be trying a little known Australian airline that you may know well heard of. This airline holds a very important responsibility to connect Australia's largest city of Sydney on the very short hop down to the nation's capital on behalf of Australia's second largest airline as a part of a wet lease agreement. This airline is Link Airways, and we're going to be flying on their trusty but aging SAAB 340B plus aircraft, who Virgin Australia have entrusted to operate their entire schedule of up to 9 daily flights on the route. So come join me for this unique aviation adventure on one of Australia's shortest domestic flights, as we fly Australia's most frequented wet lease flight down to Australia's bush capital of Canberra, a flight which covers just 250 kilometres and for most is more readily, economically and time viable by road or rail. And see what you can expect next time aboard a Link Airways flight operated on behalf of Virgin Australia, and what the experience is really like on such a short flight down to Canberra. Good afternoon and welcome to Sydney Airport's bustling Terminal 2. It's going to be a very exciting afternoon today. I'm going to be doing two things for the very first time. First things first, I'm going to be flying Link Airways for the very first time, one of their numerous daily services between Sydney and Canberra. Link Airlines actually operate this service on behalf of Virgin Australia. So that brings me to my second point. I'm going to be flying on their SAAB 340B aircraft for the very first time. So fairly small, I think about a 34-seat turboprop aircraft that Link Airways fly between Sydney and Canberra. Really excited for this one. Might just be an incredibly short hop between Sydney and Canberra. But yeah, it should be a really interesting flight nonetheless. Actually started today on the Gold Coast. Booked this flight on a little bit of a whim from the Gold Coast to Canberra via Sydney. Originally was eyeing a direct flight, did have reward availability, but delayed a couple of hours and all of a sudden wasn't available. So now I've booked this kind of indirect flight, only cost 6,200 points and about $100 or so tax. So yeah, at least I get to do two flights in one. So now we flew in on the 737-8FE with Virgin Australia earlier today. Pretty routine flight, that one, but yeah, we'll have a review on the channel if it isn't already up yet. Because we started today's journey on the Gold Coast and immediately connecting through Sydney, thankfully my bags are already all checked through to Canberra. So I obviously have left the terminal. All I gotta do is go back through security and yeah, we'll be airside ready for our flight with Link Airways today. Really looking forward to it. So without further ado, let's now head into the terminal. And before we do that, let's have a quick look at today's route information. It's going to be just 236 kilometres, great circle distance down to Australia's capital territory today, travelling in a southwesterly direction, which should take us over some scenic flying conditions out over the southern highlands of New South Wales. For your information, here in Sydney, Link Airways operates out of Terminal 2, which is the busiest passenger terminal in the whole of Australia. Terminal 2 also services practically all airlines flying domestically here in Sydney, aside from Qantas and Qantas Link. So that also includes Virgin Australia, Jetstar, Rex and Fly Pelican, for example. As I've flown in earlier today from the Gold Coast, and indeed this flight being sold and marketed by Virgin Australia, I don't actually have to check in again, my luggage is checked all the way through. But yeah, if you were flying this flight, you actually would have to check in with the normal way with the Virgin Australia counters. So yeah, mixture of self-service kiosks here in Sydney, coupled with manual bag drop counters. Interestingly enough, Link Airways do appear to have just a single check-in counter here in Sydney. Doesn't appear to be available, however, for the Canberra flights. I think it's just for the flights that they independently run. So I think they do have a flight that goes to Brisbane. It's a bit of a milk run, however. It goes by Narrabri and Inverell. So that might be an interesting one to review on the channel in the future. And just like that, we're all through security. Pretty quiet mid-afternoon here at Sydney Airport. Relatively speaking, of course, it's still always a busy airport. But yeah, security, they don't have CT scanners, it would appear at Terminal 2. So unfortunately, you do have to take your laptop out. But yeah, it was pretty quick and efficient nonetheless, all through within a matter of moments. So yeah, I believe we're departing from gate 46 today, which isn't too far from where I came in today on Virgin. on their 737-8 FE down from the Gold Coast. So yeah, it shouldn't be too far of a walk. Interestingly enough, they've got all these Heinum shopping here now at Terminal 2. So it feels like an international duty-free shopping destination, even though we're only flying domestic. Not quite sure what the point of it is, to be honest. Anyway, let's now take the short walk down to our gate and check out a little SAAB 340B aircraft taking us down to Canberra today. And just like that, we've arrived at gate A47, which is where today's flight with Link Airways is departing. It's actually a remote bus gate. You go down escalators. Unfortunately, it appears, however, the flight looks like it's going to be about an hour delay. No real official announcement or mention on the notice board or anything like that. It's still saying it's on time, even though the flight departure time is now 5 p.m. instead of 4:05. So yeah, not really much communication. Didn't get a text message or anything like that. The flight departure boards ain't making any note of a delay, even though the departure time is later. Out of curiosity, I did check my Virgin Australia app, who obviously this flight has been operated on behalf of, and yeah, it did officially confirm there the flight is delayed to 5 o'clock, an hour behind due to a late inbound aircraft or something like that. So yeah, a little bit annoying considering it's such a short flight to Canberra. Everything was going so swimmingly well today, on time and on schedule. Got a bit of a delay now, but never mind. More time to chill at the airport, and yeah, hopefully not more than an hour or so delay. Anyway, hopefully the delay doesn't bow out anymore. An hour or so is manageable. From here, it seemed to get a little bit frustrating as the afternoon went by. There seemed to be more and more delays to today's flight, and there seemed to be really poor communication, no announcements over the PA, and no one really at the bus gate either explaining what was going on. So as I settled down with a very expensive overpriced beer, which I think comes at about an outrageous price of about $16-17 these days, flight boards giving conflicting information, very frustrating indeed. Anyway, here is our first look at our Link Airways SAAB 340B. Anyway, our Swedish princess over there is Victor Hotel, Victor Echo Bravo. About 26.5 years old at time of taking this flight. It's got a fairly lengthy history, this one. First delivered in September 1997 to SAAB Airlines, then continued on to Northwest Airlink, Delta Connection, Airways, Airways, Silver Airways, for Corporate Air, which was the former name of Link Airways, took it over in 2018, and it's been in Link Airways colours since September 2020. Anyway, our late incoming aircraft now arrived from Canberra. It's time to head back to our bus gate, where boarding is now ready to commence, over an hour behind schedule. Gate 47 here in Canberra is indeed a bus gate, so ironically that means my journey onto Canberra today ironically still begins on a bus, just like where I've done it many times before, getting the bus from Sydney Airport through to Canberra. And certainly not many people on the bus today, so certainly looking like it's going to be a pretty quiet journey down to Canberra. But yeah, really do enjoy the old bus ride out on the tarmac, getting up and close with the planes, seeing the undercarriages of the planes, all that sort of stuff. So really enjoyable little ride across the tarmac today. So now as we take the few short steps into our Link Airways SAAB 340B aircraft, you'll also notice the SAAB 340B very much is the staple aircraft of regional expresses, regional flights here in Australia. This aircraft is configured across 34 seats in a standard 2-1 configuration, though take note the last row on the SAAB 340 is 4 seats. It's actually like a back row of a bus. So there's actually one seat in the middle that you've got the whole aisle basically to yourself. Seat pitch on the SAAB 340 for Link Airways is pretty average, as you would expect for a turboprop, coming in around 31 inches, but it's perfectly okay for a short flight today. Also at your seat you'll find a bowl back tray table, doesn't appear to extend however. In the literature pocket you'll find the Link Airways in-flight magazine, as well as the safety card and air sickness bag. If you're travelling solo like me, the best seats in the house obviously on the left hand side, where you're guaranteed direct window access and also direct aisle access. How good is that?
Being said, with you all on board, we'll get underway as quick as we can. We're going to start our engines, taxi down to the southern end of the aerodrome, departure to the north, left turn after takeoff. Great views either side of the aircraft as we transit the Sydney Basin. Setting course for Canberra, flight time around 40 minutes today. There is the occasional pothole en route, so please do keep your seatbelts fastened when not moving about in the cabin. In Canberra itself, it's a northwesterly breeze, temperature 30 degrees. First Officer Luke will get back to you prior to...
So what better time now just to sit back, relax, enjoy those turboprop engines fire up, and our taxi and takeoff out of Sydney today. Beautiful day for flying, and once in the air I'll then offer my thoughts and assessments on the Link Airways in-flight service.
Your Virgin Australia flight through to Canberra.
Just like that, we're well and truly tracking in a southwesterly direction out of the beautiful Southern Highlands region of New South Wales, on our way down to the nation's capital in Australia's Capital Territory this evening. Definitely one of the most scenic flight routes in Australia in my opinion. The flight down to Canberra, flying over the Southern Highlands region, is a really beautiful part of the country. Really high elevation here for Australian standards. During the winter time in particular, it's actually possible sometimes to see snow down there on some of the high elevations. Anyway, on to what you can expect with the SAAB 340B when flying Link Airways down to the nation's capital. To be honest, don't really expect too much. This obviously is a very incredibly short flight, probably only half an hour or so in the air, actually only reaching an incredibly low cruising altitude of just 12,000 feet. So first up, let's have a look at the entertainment. And of course there's no official sort of in-flight entertainment, no stream to your own device or IFE screens or anything like that. You're certainly not going to expect that on an aging turboprop aircraft. You do have the in-flight magazine. This is separate to the Virgin Australia in-flight magazine. Not a bad read. It's got some good articles about regional Australia in there. So yeah, well worth a quick read on your quick commute down to Canberra. The best entertainment, however, is obviously the views out the window. Some really nice, pleasant scenery down there. In terms of what you can expect in terms of food and beverage, once again, don't expect much. This doesn't mean you get nothing. You get a cup of water, also a Carmen's oat and coconut slice bar sort of thing. Hit the spot for the quick little ride down to Canberra. Just the one cabin crew left to tend for all the needs of the cabin today. I think that's pretty old standard across all SAAB 340 flights, correct me if I'm wrong. Nonetheless, a big kudos to this very friendly cabin crew. Did a really good job, a lot of things to handle all on her own, everything from the pre-departure safety briefing and also securing the cabin prior to landing, and of course providing the on-board food and beverage service. So well done to her. A lot of stuff to do for all one person. Now as we edge our way closer and closer to the nation's capital, really enjoyed the scenery on our short little hop down to Canberra this evening. Been excellent flying conditions and surprisingly it's been a very smooth flight as well. Not too many bumps or turbulence to note on the SAAB 340. With such a small aircraft, any sort of bumps or turbulence is really exacerbated. But the aircraft's handled it just fine. And yeah, it is a very noisy aircraft, the SAAB 340B, but apart from that, I really enjoyed flying on this aircraft. Really thrilling flying experience, a lot more interesting than your usual 737s or A320s. So yeah, really enjoying the smooth flying conditions for a change on this route. I've had some pretty hair-raising flying experiences on this route in the past, particularly one time about 10 years ago, flying Virgin Australia on their ATR 72s when they still had them. On this exact route, there were some pretty severe thunderstorms one late summer afternoon along the route. Actually a severe hailstorm in Canberra just after we arrived. That made for some ridiculously extreme turbulence. So glad it's a lot smoother flying today.
We hope you enjoy your stay in Canberra.
And just like that, we're about to make our descent into a beautiful summer's evening here in the nation's capital. So what better time to sit back, relax and enjoy this lovely landing. Once on the ground, I'll offer my final thoughts and opinions on today's experience with Link Airways. Just like that, welcome to Australia's national capital of Canberra. Overall, I thought today's first time experience flying Link Airways was a pretty good journey overall. Pity about the delays at the start of the journey, but apart from that, once on board, it was a pretty good service today. Very routine flight down to Canberra. That being said, I do really always question the economics and the viability of flying just from Sydney to Canberra. That's of course for people travelling directly between the two cities. The road distance is shy over 3 hours. So yeah, that might sound a lot longer than a 30-minute plane trip. By the time you've got to get to and from the airport and also transit through the airport, any real time saving is depleted in my opinion. Where these flights do however make sense, and probably why they do exist, is to basically ferry people from Canberra onto other domestic flights in Sydney and indeed international flights. Even so, if you did want to save some money, there's plenty of coach services that travel directly between Canberra and Sydney International Airport before continuing onto Sydney's CBD. Considering these flights with Link Airways, and even more so with QantasLink, often cost upwards of several $100s, really do think getting the coach or a train, which usually only costs about $50, is a much better value proposition in my opinion. And just like that, welcome to the nation's capital of Canberra. For my international viewers, my Australian viewers should already know, but Canberra is actually the capital of Australia. It's not Sydney, it's not Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, anything like that. Canberra might be a considerably smaller city with 450,000 people, but yeah, it is the nation's capital. Anyway, back to today's flight with Link Airways on their SAAB 340B aircraft, which is operated on behalf of Virgin Australia. Pity about the 1.5 hour or so delay leaving Sydney. It was kind of unavoidable due to technical issues on the inbound flight from Canberra. A little bit better communication would have been appreciated. But yeah, once on board, the flight got away really speedily. And yeah, it was a really enjoyable flight today with Link Airways. Surprisingly, it is a very noisy aircraft, the SAAB. But yeah, flying conditions were pretty good today. Apart from a few bumps coming in, overall it was a really smooth flight. Really have enjoyed this flight. It was a really unique one for me, first time flying on the SAAB 340B. A little bit more interesting than your usual 737 and A320 flights in my opinion. Anyway, without further ado, let's catch a Transport Canberra bus into the centre of town, otherwise known as Civic. Really convenient. They have a public bus service here at Canberra International Airport. Runs every 15 to 30 minutes depending on the time of day. Also costs you just $5, a little bit cheaper with a My Way. Conveniently, there is a ticket dispensing machine within the terminal building. We are running really late into Canberra now, so it's a race against time now to get to the hotel, check in and film my Canberra walking tour, which will be coming up on the channel shortly. So be sure to stay tuned for that one. So from here in the heart of the nation's capital, it's a beautiful warm summer's evening here in Canberra. Thanks so much for watching today's flight review with Link Airways. I certainly really enjoyed it. Hope you did too. Certainly a very unique way to fly between Sydney and Canberra. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this review or whatever might bring you to my channel, flight reviews, train reviews, bus reviews, walking tours, hikes, driving tours, even plane spotting, whatever it may be. If you do enjoy my content, really appreciate it. Do give it a like, leave your comments down below. Most importantly, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and just take a few seconds to hit that notification and bell button as well. Really would appreciate that. If you do obviously enjoy my content, that is. So visit my website, aussiejetsetter.com.au for latest and flight reviews, industry news, destination guides, frequent flyer hacks and more. Also put a link to my socials in the description below. Might wish to check out my Instagram page or Aussie Jet Setter Shorts channel. Check that out so you can see what I'm doing in the world in real time. Also got a Discord server for fans and community of the channel as well, so you might want to check that out as well if you want to discuss all things aviation and travel with fellow enthusiasts like me. Anyway, from here in beautiful Canberra, Australia, a place that's really close to heart for me, somewhere I lived briefly in 2015 and 2016. It's great to be here again. So from here in the nation's capital of Canberra, beautiful summer's evening here in the middle of Civic, right in the heart of Canberra. Thanks so much for watching today's flight review. Really hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, thanks so much for watching and safe travels wherever that might take you.